and welcome to our webinar today. Before we introduce ourselves, we would like to have a little bit of more interaction in that webinar. So how do you feel today? We heard that for it is just 8:30 in the morning. For us, it's already 4:30 in the afternoon. So everyone has a little bit of a different time zone. How do you feel? Is it a 0, just a horrible day, or is it 10, you absolutely feel fantastic? You can use the chat function here in Google Hangout or in Google Meet. It's just below at the little arrow, and you can just give yourself a score. Chris is at 8.5. Wow, that's a great score. Thanks for sharing. I'm now at a 9 because we had a very great webinar in German, and I was very happy to had Joanne in the call, so I feel very happy and very fantastic. Looking forward to some more feedback from the round. Jörg is also an 8. Thanks for sharing. So we're actually more on the upper end, which is great. Hopefully after the webinar, you definitely will have a higher score, maybe a little bit higher than before. So perfect. Thanks so much for joining us. As mentioned, I will hold this webinar together with my colleague Joanne. She's here as well. And me, myself, we are from Amaze Growth. We are actually our leading consulting, coaching, and training firm. And we are specialized mainly on empowering the people behind the numbers. So we have a very strong human-centric approach. And our core offering is actually everything around growth. We want to support growth with some different 4 core services. The one is actually positive leadership, which is really leading teams, individuals, teams, and organizations through positive psychology, which is a research field. Then, of course, vision and strategy, which is a big field of the entire leadership structure. Goal-setting systems, it can be OKRs or another goal-setting system. We map normally goal settings towards the vision and the strategy to really break it down, make it actionable. And last but not least, which fits very nicely in, is also employer branding, where positive leadership, vision, strategy, and OKRs are normally coming together, and how to really execute it on an HR level and, of course, also on an organizational level. So that's our 4 core services. Today, we speak about leadership, so part of positive leadership. And what you will take home from this webinar is you will understand why we need to reinvent leadership. In uncertain times, we have a recession in some countries, not in all. I just learned yesterday that in Switzerland, we don't have a recession. And we have, in addition, also a job market imbalance, because we have actually, at least here in Europe, more people that are employed than people that are looking for jobs. So we have actually people, a lack of labor. We will understand what structures we need to implement for being or for realizing new leadership. And last but not least, you will also understand what skill and mindset is required for behaving and also achieving the results of a new leader. So that will be the 3 learnings of this webinar. The structure is very easy, very simple. We speak briefly why we have an uncertain year in 2023. Then we will evaluate the definition of new leadership. Then my colleague Joanne will speak about the leadership structures that are required for you as an individual, for an organization, to really be able to lead in a new way. And then we will highlight very briefly also the new leadership skill and mindset that is required to bring your organization to the next level, or yourself. Let's start with the first chapter. Why is 2023 an uncertain year? As already mentioned, a lot of economists are very, especially here in Germany, I speak mainly about Germany, the European, and also a little bit of the US. I'm not so well known about the Asian market, but in Germany and in Europe, we have actually, like mentioned, in a lot of countries, a recession, we have a high inflation. And in addition, people are very much employed, which makes it more difficult to find the right people. And on top, there is new research that actually 70% of employee terminations are really triggered because of poor leadership. That means if you have a good leadership in place, you can intercept employee turnover, and that number speaks for itself. So that is one of the factors of uncertain times. On the German market, because I don't know any other numbers from other markets, but just in relation, we have 20 million employers on the market, which is for an economy of 80 million inhabitants, not so much, but 3.6 million, that is a quite high number for us, will actually leave the market. And in other markets in the European Union, it's a similar case. I guess that the US is maybe a little better because you're more in an immigration country, but we didn't brand our countries to really be immigration countries, so we have really a lack of skilled laborers. And in addition, in 2023, because of this generation change, we will actually have 70% of the workforce that is actually Gen Y and Gen Z. And I myself, I'm actually already Gen Y, but just in the beginning, I feel sometimes more like a Gen X because I'm born in 1982, and I still have the values more from Gen X. But I had, for instance, with 6 years already computer, I could code in HTML with 16. So I'm more like, in that sense, a Gen Y. I'm very familiar with computers. I even ordered an Amazon in 2003 already. So for me, it's like very well aware. But for people that are more in a Gen X, it's of course a big generation change. And when we speak here about generation change, Gen Y is, like mentioned, it's normally my generation, starting in 1982. I'm born 1981, I'm born 82, until 1996. And we have already now probably the first hire of 1999, which is really a Gen Z. So that is a real generation change. And their values is different. So for instance, the Gen Z value, there was a big value to create something in life, to get security, to build up a career, to to be loyal to your employer. A Gen Z is not like this. They're more rebels. For them, it's more important to live. And of course, they live and they work a little bit in parallel, but you have a very different mindset towards the employer and the relationship to your employer. And that's why only those companies that want to be market leaders can really transfer their values and their meaning into something that is actionable for everyone that's joining the company, because they will really actually change their value system they were operating in. And just to highlight a little bit what that means, for instance, by 2023, there's a big shift from hierarchy and power to more dialogue orientation, because Gen Z and Gen Y, they want to speak, they want to understand the strategy, the vision, the strategy, and they want to participate also in it. It's very different from before. So it's more like acting on a network. Then there is a big shift from respect to authenticity and credibility. So it's not leading someone by a threat. It's more creating psychological safety environments where people can be themselves and where they can actually work with their strengths and their internal resources. Then there's a big shift from goal orientation, assertiveness, towards purpose and meaning and motivation. So people want to have a purpose. Of course, in the purpose, there's also a goal, but they want to actually reach the goal in their own means. So self-determination is here a big keyword, that I know this is the goal to go, but how I get there is up to the employee themselves. And also in light of the AI technology, I think this would become something that is very necessary, because I think we have in the next 3 to 5, probably in the next 3 years, a very big AI disruption from the technology. And that means that people don't need to write all the line codes themselves. They need to be architects, they need to be creative to understand how to put it together. And ChatGPT or any other tool would just write the line of codes, because that is already reality in some fields. Then from structure and processes, it actually goes towards people orientation. So that means since also AI is disrupting a lot of businesses, it's not so important anymore to follow a certain process. It's more important to really understand who is the right person to fill this goal, who has the right resources, strength to actually reach something. more than just operating on structures and processes. And last but not least, there's a big shift from competence to goal and vision. This means that especially for new hires in management positions, at least here in Germany, there is still a big trend that competence and years of experience is a bigger count than a goal and a vision for someone. I myself worked for a longer period also in the Swedish market. There's a shift already that people, especially recruiters, look more, does this leader really has a vision that is really inspiring, that he can bring to the company or she can bring to the company, and a very strong goal setting system instead of looking at the years of experience and the competence, which is a big change of how we operate. So here we see that there is a big value transformation that companies need to actually get to. And since I would like to have this a little bit more, participating in this webinar, we would like to have a little Mentimeter. You can scan the barcode, and we could just make not why the question, how relevant is it really for your organization? And when we have the first results, the first votes, then I will also share the screen. And there is already a lot of very relevant or relevant. Perfect. Then for everyone it's relevant, no big surprise. I mean, that's why we hold this webinar. Thank you very much for your vote. And this is also the conclusion from us. We need to really reinvent how we lead ourselves, employees and organizations in a new way, because this big changes of Gen Y and also AI technology is actually very, it's a very big call to us to already act now and not in 2030 when it's maybe too late. Now let's have a very brief look. What is new leadership? New leadership is actually a very big psychological field of research. And we define it actually of something that is very placative between a traditional leader. So it's also, we call a new leader also a positive leader. Positive leader is sometimes very easily said, but like mentioned, it is a huge psychological research field. And here, where it comes from is really from the research. The first is actually why a traditional leader exists is because he or she has goals to achieve, goals from the supervisory board, from the market, from any shareholders, or from their bosses, which is very often just cascaded down. A new and positive leader is more there for realizing a vision and goals, which is very different than just telling people what to achieve. So that is actually the new positive leadership field. Then how do they do that, achieving the results? A traditional leader is just overcoming deficits. So you're constantly working on getting better on fields, which makes people sometimes also a bit stressed and sometimes even depressed. Whereas a new and positive leader is really applying positive psychology principles to develop yourself and also your team to use mental and physical strength. That is very important. So to not get burned out. And the outcome of a traditional leadership is very often highly extrinsically motivated employees. It's why even in a war of talent, you will lose important people because people just go for a little bit of more pay to a competitor. And the result of a new and positive leader is actually intrinsically motivated employees. I think also pay is a very big important aspect for them, so you cannot underpay them, but it's more intrinsically motivated, meaning you don't go to work because you just get paid. You go to work because you can create something there and create a new space and be innovative and creative. And actually, this number speaks also for itself. 61% of employees are highly motivated if they are appraised by their leaders. And I think this is why it is so important to have new leaders in place, that they know how to really motivate and also appraise employees, because the 61% will have actually the result of the KPI that at the end of the day, you don't have a loss of employees, or you have not also a loss of or a high number of absenteeism because of sickness or any other sorts of not coming back to work. New leadership means also that it's very strongly integrated in values, so that a company or an individual leader has defined a value system into the purpose, that there is a compelling purpose of the organization, and of course into the vision, that there is something that people know where to go, and a leading picture of the future, how we want to act there. And positive leadership helps to achieve goals. That is very important. So it's not just to pamper employees and that everyone feels happy and we don't achieve any goals. It's actually to achieve the goals in a very balanced way. There is this PERMA V, or we say sleep, smile, flow, pray, and love, and achieve. So in a very balanced way to achieve goals. Because in our very strongly, I would say, the shareholder influenced economy, it's very often only the goal to achieve goals, which is important because we have shareholders and we have to bring a certain kind of profitability, but it should be in a balanced way. In Germany, for instance, over 42% of people already had a burnout in their life. So this is quite a high number. And it's not people that have bad families and not traction records. It's very often also very high achievers, high performers. And it's also because you just achieve, and you never have the restorative time to really get the energy to also achieve. And hence, a positive leadership means really to live in balance there, because like I mentioned, Martin Seligman and many others, they defined the so-called PERMA V framework. And in this PERMA V framework, there is yin energy that helps you to restore, and there's yang energy to really help you to achieve. And one of the energies is really to have a healthy body and a healthy mind, which is vitality, which starts very often as a sleep. I can just mention it. I have a 16-month-old daughter, and when I started working 3 months after her birth, and the first from 3 months to 7 months was quite difficult because I just didn't have enough time to sleep, to recover. And then we made a sleep coaching and everything was good, but it's quite difficult to execute when you don't have enough sleep, but also other vitality aspects. Then, of course, smile. It's your own choice to see something positive or negative. And here it's really with positivity, we become more creative and more innovative. Then flow is to really work with your own strength, especially when you're a leader, to know what is my strength, what is maybe not my strength, because very often leaders get also very depressed and down because they have to do things that they really don't want. So your team has also strengths, and here it's good to know the strengths and that you can work with what you're happy to work with, and you delegate things that you're not so good at to your team. Then, of course, pray, we call it. That means the meaning, to really have a higher purpose, a meaning in your life that guides you, and that is your own lifeline. I think this is very important because you can map all certain kind of events to this purpose. And then, of course, having very positive relationships around you, people that really support you, and people that you can also support. And all these 5 yin principles help you actually to achieve and to be very strong in achievements, to have a growth mindset, and to really get the goals that you have set and the objectives done. So that is actually in a nutshell what is meant with positive leadership, to really apply those principles to yourself, but also to your team, to individuals, that they will become they become very balanced in restoring, but also achieving goals. Now let's ask here in the Google Meet chat, on a scale from 0 to 10, how positive would you assess yourself now when you understood it? I can just go back into the 5 principle, then it's 6 principle, then it's easier to see. I would give myself a 9. I'm definitely feeling quite positive at the moment, and I can be in a very good balance on these 6 things. Johanna is an 8. Very good. Thank you, Johanna. Joanne, for sharing that. Anyone else? Yeah, we are happy. 7 is Chris. I don't read them, then it's a bit more anonymous. Yeah, we're very good. 7 is a very good number. We have a little bit of headroom. Thanks for sharing. That's great. And now let's see, it sounds very soft, the topic. And like mentioned, I came from strategy consulting. I worked for Accenture Strategy and for some time. And I was always very busy to just get results and good performance outcome. But Jens Altleben, another German coach, made a very nice study of companies with positive psychology and companies without psychology, and the benefits speak for themselves. So in numbers, you can actually make a very hard calculation, and there's a huge benefit why you should invest in transforming leaders into positive leaders and why to transform yourself into a positive leader. It's actually 10% increase of customer loyalty, which is already very good because people are more motivated to speak to their clients, to their customers, and have a more, let's say, a better outcome of sales processes. 18% of sales productivity increase and 40% of overall productivity increase. And especially in sales, it's super important to anchor positive psychology, because you have to call plenty people during the day. A lot of people, they're not open, receptive for your product or service you want to sell. And here it's very important to keep the positivity level very high with these employees. Then 23% increase in profitability, which is really, really high. Everyone in the round that is a entrepreneur or has shares in a company, I think this would be a very desired outcome of any coaching results. Then 66% increase in employee well-being, which is, of course, one of the driving forces behind productivity increase and also profitability increase, because people feel happy, feel well, and they can also perform. Then 13% increase in organizational citizenship, which means employees' participation, which everyone would like to have in an organization as well. 43% less employee turnover in low turnover organization, which is a really high number. And 18% less employee turnover for companies with high employee turnover. So this is quite a big number as well. And last but not least, 81% less absenteeism, especially thereof also 42% less burnouts of employees. I think this is a very important number. So this is great benefits. Now let's make a little Mentimeter. What of the benefits is the most important for you in that round to increase as a KPI in your organization? This is anonymous. I will not share the Mentimeter result yet, but you can maybe use your phone, your smartphone, and then I will share when we have some feedbacks. Because otherwise, it's a little bit biased. Yeah, we have already a very good score. We wait a tiny bit. They're all quite even. We have a very even picture here. So it gets better. Let's wait. Yeah, now it looks already better. So now that one that has up, now it's even changed a little bit. Perfect. So actually, one of the four people participated or voted for employee well-being and less employee turnover. I think that number is really important, especially employee turnover is very expensive for organizations. Also, hiring at the moment is very, very expensive. So I think this number speaks for itself why new leadership should be implemented in an organization. And of course, well-being, employee well-being is correlated with this KPI. Then, of course, customer loyalty, especially in sales-intensive organizations, also in retail, it's definitely great to implement and to coach and train people on positive psychology, but also to install positive leadership within the organization. Sales productivity, we had one that's also great. Profitability, of course, everyone that is a shareholder or a founder would like to have an increase of profitability. And employee participation is also a very important KPI to improve. Thank you very much for that voting. That gives a very good picture to us. And let's just conclude very briefly. What is now the new leadership structures to really implement this definition of new leadership? And I would like to hand over to Joanne that can explain a little bit what is the new leadership structures to make new leadership in life.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Simone. So I take over the screen sharing. Yes, perfect. Okay, so then let's have a look at the new leadership structures. And actually, there are 5 key elements that you need to establish in your organization, starting all with the values as the base. So what are values? Values are the worth that you assign to goals or to behaviors. So probably if I'll tell you 30 values, you probably say, oh, they are very important to us. So here, the prioritization is really key. So it's very important to know which 3 or 5 values are the most important values for you, so that they influence your behavior. For example, when freedom is your core value, then probably you'll take different decisions than if security is your core value. To give you another example, for example, when kindness is one of your most important values, you will communicate in a different way than as if honesty would be your core value. So here you can see that values are something very, very individually that you develop. You develop it in your childhood and also due to your experiences, and it really shapes how you behave and how you the worth you assign to goals or to behaviors. And when you live in harmony with your values in business life and private life in general, you feel very happy and you have a good quality in life. On the other hand, if you can't live with your values, so if you have to neglect certain values, there is a risk that there might be conflicts, or it could even lead to exhaustion or burnout. So this means, for example, if you have a job where you have a lot of freedom, but security is your core value, then here there would be a conflict, which might cause that you leave this job, or at worst case, you might get a burnout if you stay in this job where you can't live your values. So why are values important for new leadership? When we as an organization will make values explicit, it allows people to align their values. We can see the values also as kind of a North Star because they guide our norms and principles. So when you as a company has a North Star, it's a lot easier for everyone to follow this North Star and to know which values are the most important ones to keep in mind for collaboration, for decisions, and so on. Also, it allows fast integration of new colleagues and development. It also allows to see very fast if there's a fit between the values of an organization or a team and the values of the person that recently joined. So here, making values explicit makes it possible to see very fast if there's a match. So we had a look at the values. We continue with the second key element, which is the purpose. Also here, what is the purpose? Well, I personally like a lot the image of puzzle pieces that you collect in life, different puzzle pieces like in private life, but maybe also in your professional career. And you're not very sure how the image will look at the end. But purpose is exactly the line that is connecting all the dots into a clear picture. So purpose is the picture in the end because it's the reason why you do the things you do. So in all the different puzzle pieces, you can see your personal purpose. Also, the purpose is the foundation for developing your own vision and where you want to go. So this means for new leadership, it's important because Simone already talked about Gen Z. So here employees need to know the purpose and the vision of their employer, and they want to fulfill their own purpose in their job. So here purpose plays a very important role. It also sets the foundation to develop the team vision, and it sets the foundation for your employer brand. So for the employer brand, also it's very important to know, why do we exist and why are we doing the things that we are doing? So why do we get up in the morning? And that's very important for your brand. And even when you even your team talking to other people, you're always building a brand, you're always representing your brand. So they're having a purpose that aligns everyone is very important to present the company outside. So the third step, well, we had a look at the values, so the North Star. We had a look at the purpose, the line that connects our dots, and now we'll have a look at the vision. And the vision is a clear picture of your future state in 5 or 10 years. This means, on a personal level, you could ask yourself questions like, where do I want to live in 5 years? Where do I want to work in 5 years? Which peoples are surrounding me? On a professional level, so for example, as an organization or a team, you could ask yourself, who are my colleagues in 5 years? Who are my clients? On which projects are we working? What skills do we need? And how is our daily business life looking like? So all these answers to the questions will create your vision. And the vision is the foundation to develop your strategy. So when you know where you want to be in 5 years, and you know where you're right now, you can develop strategies how to get to your vision. And it also helps to see which goals or maybe which topics, which OKRs are the most important ones in order to fulfill your vision. So it might help you also to prioritize and set a focus. Then, why is it important for new leadership? A vision provides motivation and inspiration, so everyone is looking in the same direction, everyone is working towards the same vision. A vision is a guide for strategies, as I already mentioned, and it helps a lot to decide on what topics to focus on or not, because you probably all have the situation that there are a lot of ideas, opportunities, topics, to-dos, and a clear vision where you want to be in 5 years can help you to prioritize, to invest your time in the topics and the goals that will make you achieve your vision. And to give you an example from our company, from Amaze Growth, we had a visioning session, for example, last year on our vacation in Spain. And there we did a little exercise. So everyone in the team wrote down an article about Amaze Growth in 2028 in Harvard Business Review. So to see how we imagine the future, the vision of Amaze Growth. And then we shared the little articles that we wrote, we discussed them, and we created a shared vision of the company. So that's a nice exercise that you could do, for example, in the organization, in your team, to develop a vision together. So we had a look at 3 key results, and now we're coming to positive leadership. So to lead yourself in a positive way, but also others and teams. First of all, what is positive leadership? 50% of your character is genetically inherited. And the other 50% is adapted through social environment and also personal self-reflection. So here, it's very important to use the second 50% for self-reflection and as a leader, especially to become a role model and to be very reflected about how you behave. Positive leaders are mindful leaders who reflect on their own behavior and the behavior of their people, of their employees, to achieve the maximum results. So here we have also a goal orientation. But with a human-centered approach, this means that we focus a lot on the goals. Goal achievement is very important, and we want to achieve our goals by focusing on our strengths. So we know the strengths in our teams, and we use our strengths in a smart way. We activate all the resources in order to reach our goals in an efficient way. So why is it important for new leadership? It's a people-centric approach. We work with the strengths, with the resources of each individual. New leaders also encourage personal growth in their employees. So new leaders empower others to work on the other 50% in order to become role models and in order to become aware of the behavior. New leaders also encourage their teams to achieve their goals. As I already said, we have a very high goal orientation here. And then last but not least, I already talked about goal orientation. So the last topic is goals. We need to implement goals in an organization because it allows us to break down the strategy. We already talked about the vision, so where we want to be in 5 years, the strategy, how we want to get there, and the strategy can be more actionable if we break it down into goals. For example, if we want to reach our vision in 5 years, we need to reach these goals by end of 2023. And these goals can be also broken down into smaller steps, for example, in targets. And they decide on which strategic activities we focus and where we invest time and where we don't have time to invest. So it gives us a very strong focus. Yeah, as I already said, focus and time awareness. Where do we invest our time in an efficient way? Because we don't have a lot of time, so we have to make priorities, and goals can help us here a lot. It also allows us to for everyone to engage with their ideas. For example, if you work with goal-setting systems like OKRs, here we have an approach top-down and bottom-up, where everyone can engage with their ideas on which OKRs to set in order to reach our goals. Last but not least, goals enable strategy execution and high performance. So we need to set goals in order to reach them. And by reaching goals step by step, we come closer and closer to our vision. So here we have a short overview, a little cheat sheet for you, difficult word, with the values that are the North Star of the organization's principles and standards, with the purpose, which is the reason why we exist and why we're doing what we're doing, with the vision, where we want to be in 5 to 10 years, with positive leadership, how we can lead ourselves and others in a positive way, and the goals, because that's how we can make a vision and a strategy actionable. And now I'm very curious to know how well these 5 elements are already developed in your organization. So I just switch back to the slide. We had a look at the 5 key elements and how strong are they already developed in your organizations.
We wait for the first feedbacks. The first one is already there. So to not be too biased, and then I share a bit when there's more answers. So actually the level is already very good, whether the structures are implemented in the organization, which is good. The rest, but we have only 3 votes out of 19 or something. So let's see. So maybe one or the other is a bit tired of voting, which is no problem. What I want to emphasize here, especially when you are someone in an organization that can influence something, maybe a leader or working in HR, I think we don't have to wait to have these 5 key elements together, as Joanne was outlining. It's more important to really start for yourself. So I think to really sit down and have a reflection, if I want to be a leader or if I am a leader, it's actually my value. What are my values? What is my purpose? What is really the vision I have? To really exercise this for yourself, because this is a very strong foundation why you are in your job and why you do the things, how you do them. And then, of course, you can, if you have the responsibility for a small team, then it's quite nice to make the same exercise with your team, to really make values explicit, make the purpose very explicit, the vision very explicit. Then you can also apply all the leadership skills that you have, and of course also to help everyone to understand the goals, that everyone can run towards goals or go towards their goals. And If you're not in a position where you can influence how the entire organization is set up, at least you can benefit from these great benefits, and you can maybe inspire some leadership colleagues that will follow you. That was also my experience when I was working at Accenture, for instance, because it's such a huge organization. Now, yes, we're a small team. We are 6 people internally, working with 17 external coaches. So it is super easy to influence everything as the founder and the main leader. So of course it's super easy, but especially when you're in a large organization, you can start today. That's my message. And you can exercise this for yourself and bring it at least in your team, and you will have the same benefits for your team. I think this is a very important message at this stage. Now let's actually discuss very briefly this skill and mindset that Joanne was already outlining as the positive leadership style. And what do you think, what skills does a new leader need? Maybe we can make another Mentimeter where we have more an open discussion, a reflection. What do you think is a very important skill or mindset that a positive leader needs to have? And we already have the first one, so this is very good. Thank you very much for sharing. Being a good in listening or good listener, that is a very important skill. Also to develop the empathy, to understand what is going around, to understand people. Absolutely one of the most important skills. Patience, inspiration, and understanding, commitment. That's 4 in 1. Absolutely, being patient is very important. Inspiring is very important, to also take someone in the organization with you. Understanding, is also self-explaining, is very important, and the commitment to really go for the goals. Open-minded is a very important skill, and also willing to adapt to change and to go new ways. And we have also creative, which is a very important skill as a positive leader. Thank you very much for sharing that. We had also some research, and at the moment I'm also writing a book about it. So for us, there's actually, for the mindset, it's super important to have positive values, especially when you reflect as a leader about your values, that you see they are positive and that, they are fitting into a positive leadership style. Then, of course, having your own purpose and meaning and being inspired by living according to your higher purpose, and that these people really believe in human beings. I think this should be one of the mindset that everyone has, that they're not too skeptical towards other people, but they're open, unbiased, and believing in everyone's strength. I think this is a very important skill, mindset. Regarding the skill set here, of course, we are a coaching company. We had a very detailed look, and we actually came up that new leaders have a specific skill set in leading yourself. Like Joanne said, already 50% of our big 5 traits are inherited. We actually adapt 50% through the social environment we're in, and through self-reflection. And I think this is very important to be very clear here, who I am, what is my personal aspiration, how can I motivate myself, how am I good with my time, to become very strong in that itself. Then being able to lead individuals, to be very people-centered, to understand different characteristics, different strengths, and different internal resources that everyone has, and to also work with those strengths to motivate everyone and his or her individual needs. Then, of course, being able to lead a team, to bring a group of people together and to also lead them on their individual characteristics, on their individual strength, and to really create a very good environment for psychological safety, and that everyone is able to really get on a very high performance. And last but not least, also being able to organize or to lead an organization. It can be also a bigger department. For instance, when you're head of marketing, there's maybe someone from performance marketing, from brand building, from data, from customer relationships. So you have different team leads that lead in that organization. And of course, that is also important to be able to lead through those teams and to manage and instruct also your other team leads that they become positive leaders. Behind those 4 areas, there's 28 essential skills. Like mentioned, the self-leadership skills, we, for instance, have self-conception, purpose, vision, stress management and resilience, problem solving, etc. So this is really important skills to lead yourself. We have, by the way, also at the moment a client that wants on the entire company level, it's a small company, implement self-leadership skills for everyone. That is also something possible, because then it's easier for the leader to get in. But yeah, so this is something that not only leaders, but maybe every employee needs to have self-leadership skills. Then leading individuals is actually everything around leading individuals for onboarding, delegation, effective communication, leading difficult conversations, and of course, employee development and recognition is a very important skill. Then leading teams, here we have everything with the team culture dynamic, but also situational leadership to adapt the style to different situations. Of course, team coaching and development is a very important skill here. Creating a learning culture, decision-making in the team is a very, very important skill, etc. And last but not least, the skills leading organizations is more probably a little bit more in depth of a lot of these competences, strategy execution, for instance, purpose and vision definition, but on a very high level with a team together, goal setting systems such as OKRs, etc. Exactly. So that is what we have defined and what we are actually at the moment developing a lot to really make those skills also available as online trainings and online coachings, and of course in a lot of different coaching setups to really train and develop leaders in that areas. Then when we have seen the skill set, there's different kind of behavior. New leaders are goal focused to really get things done. They're quite resilient to overcome any failures and to also learn from any failures. And they're very inspiring. You mentioned that as well as a behavior. And they're also situational adaptable. That's what you mentioned as well, because they can adapt to different challenges and different situations. The results they achieve, they can actually achieve goals. They can build up very strong related teams, which is very important for being creative and innovative. And they also have a very strong KPI in employee happiness and satisfaction. We had already that in the beginning, all the benefits that we heard, they actually be also part of the results here. Yeah, then let's discuss very briefly in this Meet chat. How strong do you feel? How confident do you feel yourself as a new leader already? Maybe you want to share this here in the chat. I can give myself a score. I definitely feel like an 8 or 9. Now it's 9. 8.5. Very good, Chris. Thanks for sharing. But thanks for the first feedback. Yeah, then let's have a very short summary and also room for some open questions. So we learned that we actually have uncertain times because of this big generation shift, and also, of course, because I already spoke about it, probably an upcoming AI disruption from the technology, so it will actually change the way we work. Then we will have positive leadership is actually a new style that is very human-centric and where we use both our restoring energy as well as our achieving energy. So that is very important, and that we ourselves can do that, and that we also apply this to our team and to individuals. And last but not least, we also learned that as a positive leader, you actually continuously develop yourself and your team to actually reach their full potential with their strength and their internal resources. Just some things as us as a little company. So we actually work very strongly on a community. We have a YouTube channel. You're more than welcome to join. I hope you will subscribe to it, and we release every Sunday a little video where you can learn something, how you define your values, how to set a purpose, and little things of our trainings. And we also will have a new leadership festival in June in Stuttgart. This is the sneak preview. We will launch that in a couple of weeks, probably in 2-3 weeks. Then we also offer physical leadership trainings that are across companies. We have now a series of Lead Yourself with a higher price tag, lead individuals and lead teams, where you learn the skills in 2 days on site with a group of people. We also will launch something more scaled with just the pure online training with 1 hour sessions per month, where you get the most essentials out with a coach. That will be just a fraction of €90 per month, so pretty small. And of course, we also work, that is our core business actually, we work with organizations to make leadership trainings suitable to develop a leadership structure. And here, of course, if you need any help to define a leadership program, to restructure something, or to also set leadership structures with purpose, values, purpose, vision, and goals, we are also very happy to help out and to support. And now let's have the last 6 minutes for any open questions or also feedback. You're also more than welcome to speak up. You don't need to use the Mentimeter, but let's wait a bit what kind of feedback people may have. In which language will host the festival? That's a very good question. For now, we thought we could, because it's very small, it's our first festival, and we wanted to just try it out. So we have only 60 slots, which is very small. We actually we could host it in both languages. So let's see what is the response from the people that are interested. If you're interested, just write me directly, because then we can definitely see and manage that. Do you have advice for a very divided generation gap between upper management and employees? Yeah, I mean, here the question would be, do you think the upper management is really aware of that generation gap? Yeah, then the best thing would maybe to share some inspirational things, and also very often we start working on KPIs there to really look what is at the moment the KPIs of employee turnover, well-being on employee level, to convince them first with the hard numbers and to say on the numbers that it's time to act and to make a narrative there. And normally when you come with numbers, the upper management is very open to listen. And if you have done a good proposal how to change it, it's actually really working. And we share these numbers. If you have more questions about these benefits, we can definitely do also value case with you, because there we have to always convince with the right numbers. And then they're open and then they get into the topic. And our experience is that they're normally very inspired about these topics as well, because it's something about human beings, it's something about yourself, and we had very, I would say, the real old school people that were very stubborn and being in their own thing, and they got through our training on a very different level. So it's definitely possible. Yeah. But try to start with the numbers, then you can at least get an open oar for some other things. And you can always reach out to us, to Joanne and myself. And yeah, we're happy to support if there's any needed support.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here.
And we're also happy if you connect on LinkedIn or via email. Perfect. Thank you so much. See you very soon and have a lovely day.